RITC Cybersecurity, empowering businesses with robust cybersecurity protection.
Welcome to Ciphered Reality from RITC Cybersecurity, where the real threats of the digital world come alive. This week, we're about to unravel the latest threats, expose daring hacks, and the dangers of cyber world. On the docket today, the team from Optimize 365. Joining us today is Shimon, Magal, and Chase Sims. I'm Mike Rotondo, joined as always by my intrepid co-host, Mari Cherry. Are you ready to discover what's hiding behind their screen? Connect with us at ritcsecurity.com/contact. Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, it's really nice to be with you guys.
Definitely. Pleasure. This is actually the first time most of us have met.
Yep.
So. All right. Now, Chase, you're the architect, and Shimon, you're the... I've read your co-founder, and I read that article in Hacker News that you guys wanted to talk about. So why don't you kick us off talking about that?
Yeah, definitely. So it's exactly ties into something we're doing at our company, but we released that to talk about the fact that in so many Microsoft 365 tenants, which are the core of so many businesses, there's a huge backlog, and the backlog, it has to do with configuration. It has to do with identities that are in your organization that sometimes you're not even aware of, and that poses a big risk. But then you have the flashy, the zero-day attacks that are getting released, and they usually grab all of the attention. And not enough people are aware of that backlog and not enough are implementing a plan to reduce that. And those are just threats waiting to happen.
Okay, is that why you started off 365, or did you kind of have a passion for that, or why did you guys do it why did you start Optimize 365? Excuse me.
Yeah, we just understood it's such a platform where companies are managing a lot of sensitive information, all of their traffic, and usually it is not guarded in the same level as companies would do with their entire their other cloud stack, right? And sometimes people don't even perceive that as part of their cloud. And so we understood that there was a major pain point there for both organizations, and then also for MSPs that are having to manage all those different accounts. So that was the motivation to create the solution.
You mentioned something in the article that every day you wait, the backlog grows. That really stood out to me because I was like, oh no, it's so true, but it's a real problem, and it's like you mentioned earlier, people aren't necessarily focusing on that aspect of it. So it's like it could be enormous already, and if you're not focusing or have a dedicated person to kind of focus on that, it could just keep piling on, and then oh my God, what do we do?
That is so true. I mean, we've seen tenants with just an example, not even configuration, but with thousands of app registrations, right? That is installed apps that were introduced to the tenant, and people have forgotten about it. I'm sure Chase has seen his fair share of examples of that as well.
Oh, absolutely. And this kind of goes into a perfect example of just that itself is you have to think about it. What if you had a server sitting in a server closet, right? And it was completely unlocked with the admin account, logged in, and anybody can just walk in, right? And just install whatever they wanted onto that server. And this is kind of where we start going to the notion of having so many different enterprise applications loaded onto an environment, right? So in the same vein, if anybody can walk in, install whatever they wanted on that server, that's a production server, then essentially that's what people are doing today. And a lot of sysadmins out there that are managing Microsoft 365 don't realize of the impact of not only of just shadow applications or shadow AI. We can talk about both there, but
yes.
Also understanding that these applications do have full access sometimes to pertinent information, right? They can grab your name, email address, phone numbers, anything probably inside that intra ID profile. So that's where you have to be nervous whenever you see those thousands of different enterprise applications, you can imagine on how many companies maybe haven't been vetted for a certain amount of time, right? So
Yeah,
that's one scary thing that can happen.
that is pretty scary. It's just one, but it should be high on the list.
Now, is your primary market, is it MSPs or is it just anybody can buy this?
Yeah, no. So we're helping MSPs only. The reason for that is that they have a much much sharper pain because they're not managing one account; they're managing multiple accounts. Clients are benefiting from it, but it's
Oh,
the
definitely.
MSP's responsibility at the end of the day to to manage it for them. So
Right. It's scary, Chase. Going back to your analogy of a server in a closet. I've been in IT long enough to have seen that. We used to call them cubicle servers.
Okay.
And, they're always fun to find during a decom project. And you're like, well, wait a minute. Ooh, this is not in the server room. This is not in the data center. Where is it? Oh, it's under Bob's desk in his cubicle. Oh,
And it's still running Windows Server 2003, whatever,
yeah, exactly.
R2,
And it hasn't been patched, and it can't be patched, and but it's still hooked into the domain, and yeah,
It's so
And
funny.
additionally, Bob was concerned about connectivity, so he put any on it, and figured, why not, right?
Wait, what do you mean we got ransomware?
Yeah. So,
What?
yeah.
Oh my gosh. This all sounds like you guys have firsthand experience with these exact scenarios. Awesome.
Yeah, many years have passed by as well, where we've walked into environments, right? As working in the MSP space for a little over a decade, I can tell you that I firsthand have seen the most nightmarish, either whether it's the spaghetti of a server rack, or watching five servers do one task that if one of them goes down, the entire business just comes to a halt. So
Oh,
it's definitely been quite a thing over the years, and especially when you start introducing Microsoft in the stack, it not only becomes a local issue, but now we are introducing cloud, and I mean with that, cloud security, right? That's the biggest thing, is that everything used to be local. We used to have perimeter networks. We used to, block out traffic. But now you have something like Microsoft living in the cloud, and it is very dangerous, to leave things open. And that's where Optimize really comes in to play. That's what we're focused on and what we're attacking there.
I love that. That's nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
How would you approach that for a client if they came to you with that scenario? Can you help us out?
Yeah. Shimon, I would love to kind of like bleed on to you too with some of the experience that the MSPs have given feedback on. I would love to hear from you on that.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think for MSPs, they are managing so many different products for their clients. It is a lot that has to do with standardization and being able to choose one stack and follow through. And we've had so many MSPs turn to us, and you understand that the different client has their own unique environment with their own unique hiccups and whatnot. And so being able to, at least on the Microsoft level, have some ability to standardize and get the visibility. I think that's the key thing. But definitely, I have my own horror stories to share from things I've heard of or seen.
I think that like one of the biggest things that we can mention on the Microsoft side when it comes down to security is just something as simple as like conditional access policies, right? That is a huge factor that a lot of people don't really come into play. Now it's being talked about a lot more recently. Now, don't get me wrong, it's now, I think most people that work in the Microsoft 365 world know about them, but the issue is that we are still on like older practices with configuring them, right? Some people will put the signals in where okay, we'll just block the entire country, and when somebody needs access to a particular resource in Microsoft 365, yeah, we'll just add them to the exclusion list. Well, okay, well now you're excluding that individual with just the country that you're intending to block, right? So that can be very dangerous at the end of the day. And so something like the intra suite, where you have the public intra or private intra, where you can actually now connect directly like from a machine or anything like that into intra, instead of going through all this backbone and all this weird setup that you're trying to do with your conditional access policies, you can utilize conditional access to use the other products inside of Entra. And that's the biggest thing when it comes down to security is you don't need to let you have that tiny hole, but hey, the Death Star was destroyed with a one blast to a tiny hole, right? And so when you start to think about those kind of things, is it can be catastrophic, even in that layman's terms.
Yeah,
we use Star Wars references fairly liberally in our
we
podcast,
do.
so
Yeah,
you're fitting
that
right
was
in
great.
there, Chase.
Yeah, that was really great. We like to throw in a lot of movie quotes.
Shimon, what's your background? Were you a developer, or were you an MSP, or what drove you to this?
Yeah, so pretty much since I was little, I was into software development. The minute I got a compiler working, I was pretty much in love, and I wrote my first, I think, program when I was like 10 or 11.
Oh my
And
gosh.
after that was definitely love at first sight. I continued doing that. Also as part of my mandatory service in Israel, and also then I did a bachelor's degree in computer science, and I've been in the industry, but as a developer, and with Optimize, it's my first time actually interacting with the MSP market, and it's been great. I was just in November in Orlando in IT Nation Connect. I got to see that amazing, thriving community. Met all the different, influencers and the people. It's an amazing community.
That sounds like a fun experience.
It was.
Yeah, that's amazing. I would love to get my kids started in something like that. I try sometimes, like plant a little seed, like this could be really good. It could be really fun. I love that you've been doing it so long.
All right. So what's the scariest thing you've seen when you've gone into an MSP? I mean, what's the scariest thing you find out there?
Well, I could probably sit here and tell you that I have actually consulted for many MSPs, and I think this one of the scariest things that when you walk in and you ask like who does what, and so a lot of the time you'll say, well, I have all of the hats, and it's like okay, well, so and so I sit there and I stutter and I'm like okay, so what do you primarily do? It's like I configure users and I do this. Okay, so do y'all have any kind of like Microsoft specialists or networking specialists? It's like no, I do that also. So what a lot of MSPs struggle with today, right, is the notion of being able to the labor that they have, the people that they have. It's really difficult managing, especially everything in their I would say their suite of software that they have to support, right, for their clients. And the biggest thing is that these kind of tools are just missing, right? And so that's hopefully what we can try to achieve is to help take that idea of the multi-tenant management and take that to another realm. But when I say that is probably one of the biggest issues, in my opinion, is that everyone is just so scattered, right? And so they struggle with that, and most MSPs do.
Yeah. Yeah, we've definitely seen some examples of that, Mike.
Oh yeah, yes we do.
Yep.
Yeah, in the security space for sure, we see it all the time. It's like, well, I'm the IT guy, and I'm the compliance guy, and I'm the and it's like, wow, okay.
Like we need a security guy, do we?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah. So
It should be.
So your focus is M365. What else? I mean, is that all of what you guys are doing, or is it simply that it's like you're securing the cloud and that's your core goal?
It's only M365, and I think that it's an entire rich world on its own, because it has different sub products as the Purview and the Copilot and the Teams, and so many different things that go into it. And just like Chase was saying about the conditional access policies, the thing with Microsoft and with security as a whole is that things change so rapidly, and being able to get informed and be educated, being up to date, that is the big challenge. especially with a platform like Microsoft 365. And that's one of the unique things that we do is we actually have this agent on the back end that keeps learning Microsoft, and that's its expertise, and then makes it into something that MSPs can consume on the other side, where they know that the standards and our recommendations are up to date. So definitely, it's its own world. It's its own rich world, and even with the service that we're providing, there are still other complementary things that you might still need.
Can you give us an example of one of those?
Yes. So apart from that, configuration management is our our basis. We've recently also added like real live near real time threat detection around
Okay.
specific actions, but there are other actions that we aim to expand to. And there are always examples. We just came out of a call when somebody suggested maybe you can read into emails and extrapolate some more information, so that it's such a huge attack surface. So it's like an infinite world on its own.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can utilize this with AI as well. Is that part of your program?
There are some plans to kind of push the envelope a bit more, because we've actually had some great cases where somebody came to us with an obscure question about my Intune is not my Intune sometimes on on Windows, sometimes I get timed out like every 3 hours, or all sorts of weird things. And so we what we help them, and that's going to be the next evolution of the product. We actually help them using our agent to kind of diagnose it in a very manual way. But yeah, but the next step of that is that they will be able to ask our agent directly, and they will get the answer for themselves using the permissions that we've already request.
Perfect. So it's like a hybrid situation.
Yeah, it
Perfect.
is.
That's nice. That's what we like to hear.
Yeah.
And I think back to the original question here from Mike, asking about, do you support any other products or anything like that? So when we start to look at this space, right, I think the only real competitor is going to be something like Google Workspaces, right? And so a lot of people ask about that, like, hey, do you guys support G Suite or Google Workspaces, whatever you want to call it today? I'm a old head, so I call it G Suite or whatever the new name they're going to rename it to tomorrow. So,
Exactly.
but what I would say, and here's what I would say to that, is that Microsoft 365, when it was created, right, there was Office 365 before it, right? That was its predecessor. And so Office 365 introduced the notion that, hey, you can get a cloud subscription for cloud apps. You could get all this kind of stuff. A lot of the stuff that G Suite actually already offers today, right? So it's a lot of their competitor type stuff. Like they have, Google Docs, all this kind of stuff, right? Google Drive and things like that. But when a lot of people don't really understand this language, and it's really hard for them to understand, is that Microsoft 365 is completely different. It's a complete 180 from Office 365 in a sense that when Microsoft 365 came out, it was really advertised or sold as a security product. This is no longer just, hey, you get Office apps in the cloud. We have to start securing our identities and going into purview policies, doing DLP, things like that, right? And as of 2025, whenever they release their Secure First annual report that they do, it's estimated that they've spent between $5 to $8 billion in cybersecurity. And so when we start thinking about that kind of number, you're starting to get into, okay, well, who's the best, right? And so when they release that kind of report, they're neck and neck with pretty much CrowdStrike, and those two are similar in investor levels. So it's pretty daunting when you hear that, right? And so getting away from Google Workspaces in a way of saying, okay, they do what they do very well. They have a free product, they have low pricing, but what kind of security do they really have on the identity side? What can they capture? What can they block? And so this is why I believe that the focus on Microsoft 365 is so pertinent, especially for MSPs and just the generic world today that we live in, with most office spaces using Microsoft. And so I think that's a huge pillar. That's why we focus on it.
Yeah, smart.
Makes sense.
Smart.
So how would if I'm a CIO or a CISO, how am I going to show that the value of your product to my board or to my management team? How am I going to show money saved or things prevented, or I mean, how do you do that?
I think one of the best answers there is that, so in our tool we have a statement of work generation there, right? So we actually can predict on how long it's going to take to do a particular function. So let's say that you have a project team that directly or just like we said earlier, they maybe do or don't always do Microsoft 365, right? It's kind of hard to keep up with that, but we kind of like an auto shop. This is how I think of it, is we have a dedicated revenue generator that will determine how much estimated time it's going to take to do a particular task, right? So you go to a car dealership, they say, okay, well, this is a 6-hour labor job, right? Well, we have that as well, and we can predict on how long this would potentially take. So using our tool, when it takes 30 minutes to do something, but all of a sudden you can do it in 2 minutes or less. Well, you have to think about margins there, right? And this is how we start talking to a finance guy that's sitting around a table saying, wait a minute, how much can you give me back in margin? And it's like, and so you start to look at those kind of things. Not only that, I think the next biggest thing is that we have a external client portal that allows for like a VCIO to be able to say, okay, wait a minute, we're sitting at a 53% CIS control score. What can we do something to improve that? What do we need to do? What kind of talks do we do to say that? And what I've always said in this particular case is that because in a lot of MSP contracts that what I've seen in the days, it's like, well, wait a minute, I thought you guys were doing all this for us. Why are we such a low score? And how I would usually approach that is saying like, okay, well, so you probably go to doctor's appointments throughout the year, right? And a doctor is going to probably tell you, say, hey, look, this is what's currently wrong with you. We did some blood work, right? And so essentially what comes down to it, for the short and sweet there, is that you're not going to fire your doctor for telling you that you may need some preventative care, right? And that's how I look at it there. And so when we're starting to talk to a VCIO, and how they would talk to their clients at the MSP, that's exactly what you would say, is that, look, we've have these new technologies that are coming up that are sprawling out, through Microsoft 365 and its management tools. And so that's exactly what I would say, is that is a core feature in making sure that you can show value as an MSP to your client. Because at the end of the day, we don't go to offices for the most part and fix printers and servers and computers anymore, right? Computers are getting really, really good. They're lasting for a long time. So a client has to sit there and say, what are you guys doing for us anymore, right? Like, why do we even have you? And so I believe that our tools, our client portals, our revenue generation, some of those things that we have built in really show a value proposition of why you should stay with us.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and I will add to that as part of security in Microsoft, it also ties into the different licenses that you have and the ability to really optimize each of the abilities that you get with those licenses. And it can be a very confusing world with the Microsoft licenses, because there are, like, I think, more than 400 SKUs out there, different.
No, it's not hard at all. Come on, man. Come on. You don't need to go to 12 years of college just to understand Microsoft licensing. Oh,
and and with that being so confusing, that's also something we try to make sense out of. So all the different controls that we scan, we also tied it to the different licenses. So it really helps demonstrate the value in that sense as well, because if you can talk about how are you utilizing your licenses to the maximum, or what sort of opportunities do you have around licensing, and that financial impact, then it becomes a very natural conversation, by the way, using the tool.
Yeah.
Isn't it true that if you have one F5 or E5 license, that it basically enables you and allows you to have all the toys and security controls of an E5 for the entire enterprise? Is that correct?
I can comment on this. So there is some gray area in this conversation. So Microsoft is actually locking down. Currently, as of this year, they are locking down the ability to be able to do that. So even if you have one and you assign it, you're going to start getting just some random errors. It's just the same notion as like Intune, for example. Just because you have a business premium to one user, when that business premium user logs into their computer, it adopts to Intune, right? Or contacts the MDM and all that kind of stuff. But if you have another individual in the same environment with a business standard license, then they try to register the device with Intune. It doesn't work. So essentially, they're taking that concept and pushing it down to a lot of the other SKUs that they're already working with. So yeah, little gray area there, but yeah, Microsoft's terms of service does state very clearly in their user agreement that if a user uses that particular feature, they have to be licensed for it.
Gotcha.
Seems fair,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, it can only seem fair there. And I just want to actually back up to one third thing to add to Shimon's comment earlier about what we're starting to see on the finance side. But Microsoft is really pushing this notion of the partner center, right? And so they really want MSPs to engage into some of the quotas that they have set, so that way you can now get your solution designation. Okay. And it used to be, hey, if I have that Microsoft Gold badge on my website, then I'm trusted. I'm a trusted advisor. Well, they're pulling back on that. There's no longer the bronze, silver, and gold tier. There is the solution designations. And so the biggest one that's being chased right now, and something that our product can definitely help you with, is chasing after that modern work solution designation. That's one of the biggest ones that you definitely want to get when you're talking about a generalized Microsoft 365 use. Now there are like Azure and things like that, right? But modern work is that really stamp that you want to be able to put on your website and say, look, we are a MSP that supports modern work. We upsell licenses. We know what we're talking about. We have people that are certified. And so I believe that using the tools that we have to our disposal and some of the licensing explanations that we have inside the tool really helps MSPs further their partnership growth with Microsoft.
Interesting. I just wonder, if those designations though sometimes get lost on the general public. Because if I'm a, company that it's got 25 users, and I'm like, I need to get someone to take care of my computers, and it's looking at, well, I'm a modern, and I'm a this, and I'm a that, and they're like, what does that mean?
Yeah, Microsoft has definitely made it a little bit more difficult, and maybe I think the best phrase here is just to say they're raising the bar in order to get to there. Requiring 3 to 5 certified technicians in order to get the full-on benefit of solution designation of modern work, is having somebody that has a Microsoft 365 expert exam level certification in order to fully qualify for it. So I will say Microsoft is definitely raising the bar. A lot of it can be found inside of your own partner portal if you have access to one. The language is very hit or miss sometimes, and it does get confusing, right? I think that's also a value that we can show, that during like our demo calls, or during having sessions after you've already signed and implemented and onboarded, we want to make sure that you're taken care of. And if you have a Microsoft question, then we want to be at your disposal, especially dealing with partner center stuff. That is, that's always all over the place. And if we don't even know the answer, we are 100% going to go find the answer.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah, because I remember back in the days when you were a specific partner, you got a giant book of discs of CDs, and that's what gave you the power to install everything everywhere.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh no.
So, and then you'd resell them to somebody else.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So, Shimon, what is one question a CEO asked you that you were most afraid to answer?
Shimon, I'm going to have to give you that one.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to give you that one.
A question a CEO might ask me, and I'm
Yeah.
afraid to answer.
Or a potential client asks you that you really don't want to answer.
Oh wow, that's a tough question. Let me think a second.
You guys cover every single little policy inside of Microsoft 365. Because if you don't, then you're a bad product. It's like, okay, well, there's over 3,500 controls, and not every single one of them have API access. And they don't expose it, right? And so sometimes, like when a CEO comes and asks, like, I want to know, do you guys do everything? It's like, okay, all right, let me explain. Let me go to the high level, top level area to have to explain on how this all works in the background. But it's it's hard to be able to answer a CEO of that kind of question. But that's like one of those ones that, oh man, why did you ask me that? Yeah,
seems like your approach was pretty good though, kind of like an education level. This is maybe why I thought that was pretty good.
We have to, in the cybersecurity world, alternate between educating and scaring the crap out of people.
So, yeah.
So, yeah, I just, with Stryker getting hacked, was a couple days ago, the big medical firm that was taken down by Iranian cyber criminals. Sent it over to our, some of our clients, and we're like, hey, maybe it's time to review our SAO and bump up those services a little bit.
Well, it's really difficult for the medical industry. I've actually worked in MSPs that we had medical clients, and they are really strapped for cash on the IT side. They don't really invest a whole lot. And they don't pay, right? And they're losing people left and right. And most of the time you have that one internal IT guy for over 350 employees. And it's quite a nightmare. And we've actually had like an MSP service that, so for our help desk technicians, we actually used to, I guess you could say, lease them out. And we would actually send our help desk technicians just whenever they needed it. We'll hire another person if we needed to. But essentially they would pay us in order to have an employee there, right? And so they were essentially, I think that actually is changing, because I'm starting to see that more and more, that people are kind of copying that, because what's happening is not only do you have the power of that one person sitting there, but you also have the power of the entire MSP knowledge base. So if that one person doesn't know what they're doing or doesn't have any idea of what to do, then they can always fall back to us, like at the engineering level, right? And that can go for Microsoft, that can go for networking, whatever the case may be. But to talk about that particular incident, it is very sad, and it is very sad that there is not a whole lot of money being thrown at cybersecurity on the medical field, because I think that that's one of the most important assets for us to protect, right? You have tons of HIPAA violations, right, that could happen during that. Social security numbers get leaked, everything, personal information that can be used. And when we start to think about going outside of medical, the amount of credit fraud that's happening, something like with Klarna or with, pay-as-you-go services, that what's happening is that people are getting these social security numbers and registering, fake loans and just destroying people's lives. And a lot of this is coming from these types of data breaches, ransomware attacks, data breaches, whatever the case may be. And so it's very dangerous, and I don't think it's taken seriously enough sometimes.
Well, I have a hacker associate who's a black hat mercenary, and distant associate. But anyway, he wrote a book and he presented it at DEF CON about how to raise and kill people digitally. So how to hack into the birth certificates and then, build a human from scratch, and how to basically destroy someone completely by telling the credit agencies they're dead. And it's just like, then you got to prove you're alive. And it's like, no, I really am alive. I'm really here.
I'm here.
So
yikes.
But,
wow.
Yeah, I think the back end systems are 100%. They just take forever to update, right? Or like our government sometimes can move slow on updating to the modern era. And I think a lot of stuff still, even without going any kind of politics, but the government in general does not invest enough time and effort in order to move us to the next digital age. We're still giving out social security cards. There's no different type of ID systems, right, that exist. And most of the time, and if you're not, you could see it out there today, is, oh, we'll just verify you by your email address. Your email address is the only thing that we need to verify who you are. It's like, that's not a good solution. That's not a good solution. And you see that a lot. Or using your voice or doing text messaging. It's like there is so many things that can replicate voices now. There's so many
Yeah.
sim hijackings that's happening, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah, and we're in this time, right, where AI is everywhere,
Yeah.
and there. I think I read a report that even in Firefox, they are now finding four as many uh, exploits as they used to
Wow.
without AI, right? So all
Oh
the
my gosh.
software has any software has its own blind spot, its own
Hmm.
exploits, and I'm the good scenario is when you're using AI to find those and patch them up quickly. But if it's in the hands of the attackers, then obviously it is. And they're finding, the people are weaponizing AI as
Hmm.
we speak. So
well,
Yeah.
then it's just AI against AI at that point, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I mean, like you're just patching the
Yeah.
AI with the AI, and it's like, oh wait, I found something else. Here's another thing,
Hmm.
AI. Please patch this. Oh wait, they're going to use AI. It's just an AI warfare.
Yeah.
Not a day goes by where there's not three CVE notices for Google
yeah,
Chrome. I mean, have you
Mm-hmm.
not seen like just the amount of emails
Oh
that come
man.
out about CVEs about Google Chrome? It's insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
insane.
Shimon, you did mention in your article that the biggest risk isn't what attackers will discover, it's what they'll automate before you fix it. And I think that ties into just everything we just talked about. Yikes.
Yeah,
What do you do though if
exactly.
it's, yeah, what do you do?
It's exactly the thing that you have that that burning backlog. It's
Yep.
you're already exposed in a sense, and it's just that there are so many spray and pray attacks that we are seeing actually, uh, where we see admin at a specific organization trying to attempts to get into that account in an automated way. Now there is no chance that somebody is manually doing this, and it's just they're
Right.
trying to on a very wide range of accounts just do that. And
Yeah.
another thing that we see getting alerted all the time, and you can see, you can imagine the sort of countries that we see in those attempts. It's like it's from everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, so people are constantly trying to utilize those breaches to their benefit. It is a hard thing to
Hmm.
protect against. It starts from the ability to reduce those gaps, but at the end of the day, it's I think the biggest thing with Microsoft, it's there is at the end of the day, there is dual ownership. There is
Mm.
the things that Microsoft need to fix, but there are also things as you, the user of that account, or the admin of that account, you have to handle. And where that contract is not always clear. Like, what's my part, what's their
Hmm.
part.
Interesting. All right. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, is that something you help clients with, recognizing that? Yeah.
Definitely. That
Yeah.
those are exactly those things that Chase was mentioning, that there's so many settings that can get you to a more secure place, but it is up to you to introduce and have your tenant hardened, because at the end of the day, it also with like in everything with security, once you implement it, it might also cause some friction in legitimate
Yeah.
everyday work. So
Yep.
it's a matter of where you're crossing that line, and how you're balancing it out. So we are actually helping you find a balance. We have this really neat piece in every control that we recommend. It's not just about why implementing it; it's also why not to implement it.
Oh,
Because
okay.
yeah,
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Can you explain that a little bit more? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So with everything, right? You want to introduce a specific thing, like let's make sure that you cannot use add-ins in
Hmm.
Excel or Word or PowerPoint anymore. But then maybe it's part of your everyday life. But then there are so many add-ins that are tied to malicious activity. So it is up to you to decide where you draw that line.
Got it. So if you have, or you're dealing with clients that are kind of like, we don't really know where to even start. Do you get that quite a bit? You're both nodding. Okay, yes.
Yeah, and so what we offer in the product is multiple
Yeah.
levels. So that's
Oh,
what we
okay.
call them L1, L2, L3, L4. And so we have essentially a day one value proposition essentially and showing you a day one scan and saying, okay, here are 30 controls that are not as impactful because at the end of the day, Microsoft is by default is really not that secure. They
Yeah.
they want to let things be open so that way you're not having friction, right? And so they want this whole notion of, okay, well, yeah, you can use our product, you can easily adopt it, we'll bring you in, and it's going to be easy, right? Well, the problem is they leave a lot of doors open for people to be able to do whatever they need to do and get in there, but that creates a lot of security risk. So what we've offered in the product is say, okay, well, here's 30 controls. If you turn them on, these are quick wins. You can tell your client, look, this is what I've done already day one, and saying that I have already massively improved your secure score or just the general security posture of the tenant. Something as simple as doing the add-ins, or hey, maybe we shouldn't allow people to install those apps on that server anymore. And so what you do is you go turn on admin consent settings when it comes down to installing enterprise applications. Turn that on. Don't allow anyone else to be able to set up single sign-on or connected into Microsoft 365. Turn it off immediately. And that prevents a lot further, potential risk. And so again, day one value policies that are supported within the platform, because going back to the server is the new tenant. Microsoft is the new server for the tenant. And so we have to come back to showing day one value.
Yeah, I like that too, because then you can kind of graduate them into like higher levels. So it's not overwhelming. We see that a lot. And Mike and I talk about this a lot. We don't want to overwhelm and inundate them with all of these new policies and procedures. And they're just like, what did we do? So that's really great. You guys have like how many levels did you say?
We never recommend doing a L4 scan like the first rip, right? You're going to have 150 controls plus controls. And then, can you imagine saying, okay, you guys need to plan for this today. Yeah, good luck. We'll send you off to the races.
Yeah,
I've seen some scenarios in MSPs before, and I don't, not talking about any particular company or anything, but I unfortunately have seen where people will run these type of scans and just say, okay, I want the McDonald's of Microsoft 365 tools. Let me just push everything. And so, that creates a lot of uncomfortable conversations with your clients.
Yeah.
So you do need to have somewhat of a general knowledge of Microsoft 365. And not only that, within Optimize 365, we do have explanations to what each policy does. So, whether it's a CIS control, HIPAA, whatever it is, you click on it, you can actually see what that policy is going to do, the impact that it's going to have. And again, why or why not push it and implement it. But also, too, again, we give you a general idea of, okay, well, this is what's going to happen. This is what it's going to do.
That's really great. I like that a lot.
Does Optimize 365 tie into things like SharePoint or SQL or any of those other applications, or is it just focused on the Entra piece mainly and the user piece?
It does tie into SharePoint, Teams, all of the different, Copilot, all the different Microsoft 365 products.
Yeah, so basically, if you can see it on that admin.microsoft.com, if you can see it on the left, we most likely support it. And not only that, including what probably people don't even think about is Microsoft Fabric. We support Microsoft Fabric, even policies, being able to do that. And a lot of it has to do with Power Platform and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of people don't think about securing stuff around that ever. And there are people in the organization that may be using something similar to that, and it's just left open.
That never happens. Never happens. Now, do you also support hybrid environments, or is it only cloud?
There is some support for hybrid, but it is mainly for the cloud. There are some controls around hybrid, but the hybrid is a bit more, a bit more nuanced than that, in the sense not all the information is in the cloud. It can be harder to configure. So our main objective is to focus on the cloud-only accounts.
Okay.
Cool.
Awesome. I'm out of questions. Yeah.
All right, I got one.
All right.
When a major company tells the public your data is safe with us, what is one secret you know about their data architecture that would panic the customers if they knew?
Man.
Asking for a friend. That came from our CO team.
Asking for a friend. No, but I do think that making sure that we're secure and all that kind of stuff. So we are ISO 27001. We are moving into our SOC 2 Type 2. We already have SOC 2. We're moving to the Type 2 audit right now. We are very willing that any prospect asks us, hey, you know, how do you or what's your credentials, like show me your credentials or whatever. You know, we do have all of our reports handy. We have a whole trust center that's already built up. You know, all the data is secured in AWS, and we encrypt pretty much
Not
everything. Not Azure in this case. So
Not
we
Azure.
are in the east region, but there was some technology there that even I think that Shimon could even mention about why maybe Azure wasn't chosen, or why like the Windows Server environments weren't chosen, just because of some of the things you do. I think maybe one of the last points there, Shimon, while we have some time, is do you want to explain how our product is significantly more advanced than maybe even some of our competitors of the background and the engine that we use to power all of this?
Yeah, I would love to. So right when we kind of discovered the problem of Microsoft 365, when we're doing our validation around that, and our our MSP is willing to pay for this, right? And we started building out that first MVP. We had this major crossroads when we're thinking, do we want to do the remediations using a very well-known product by Microsoft, an open source product, a great product called the Microsoft DSC, that is desired state configuration? Or do we maybe want to do it based on our own technology? Now, the DSC is very much, it has to run on Windows, right? So that means our backend will have to run on Windows. And that's challenging because we want to be able to support any scale that we want, and that is usually found in Linux and the Kubernetes orchestration. So we decided to actually build our own solution. That's our agent, basically, that is able to, on its own, kind of learn what is Microsoft 365 and generate those controls. And that goes into being able to assess every control. That includes what Chase mentioned about the ability to predict, if I were to remediate this, how it will impact specific users, how it will impact specific groups, and so on. It also ties into the ability to remediate that, and we've been able to remediate most of the controls, and the ability to undo a specific remediation, and other points of that. But we are really, obviously, in hindsight is 2020, but I think we definitely chose the right path here, because first, the DSC, I think, is getting deprecated in 2027. That's one thing, but also the flexibility of having something that is like on the subatomic level of Microsoft, and then you just have a lot more flexibility to build something that is solid when you're trying to do more major operations or a batch of some sort. It just relies on that infrastructure that we've created, and also that means that we're able to get updated fairly fast when something changes, or when there's a new control in town. And just being able to adapt, and I think being able to adapt is the most important thing in this day and age.
Most definitely. Most definitely. All right. I think we're hitting that time. We got about 5 minutes left. So tell us all about how to get a hold of you guys, what your URL is, everything we need to know about Optimize 365. Who wants to take that one?
Yeah, you can visit our website at optimize365.io. You can always schedule a meeting or hit the book a meeting button, and you'll get scheduled in with us and pick a time, and we'll go over all of our different control sets and how we can optimize your Microsoft environment. I like to use that a lot. Yeah, we'll go through a demo and we'll kind of get a understanding of your environment. We're very personable. We want to understand the struggles that you're dealing with, because at the end of the day, if you're not really struggling, then there's no problem that needs to be solved for you, right? And so we do take that very seriously. We don't just sit there and cram a sales guide down your throat. We want to understand if you're actually struggling, and if you are, figure out exactly those pain points, right? It's just a waste of time, everybody's time, if we can't identify or figure out what we need to do for you. So we want to make sure we are very personal in that way of saying, okay, well, you have this issue, great. You have that security issue, great. What happened to your client? Ransomware. What kind of Intune setting? So it's always that. But yes, you can go to optimize365.io and book a meeting through there.
Cool. All right. Any famous last words?
Thank you so much for having us, and I appreciate all of your time, and for all the listeners out there, I really appreciate it as well. Thank you.
All right. Don't miss next week's episode of Ciphered Reality, where we unravel the stories you can't afford to ignore and dig deep into best practices of securing your financial data and AI news, risks, and solutions. Tune in next week for stories that might just change the way you see the digital world. Be sure to look for our videos on X, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Remember, cybercrime is bad. Love RITC Cybersecurity. Thanks for listening to the Ciphered Reality podcast. Say goodbye to the good folks, everybody.
Oh, goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Everyone.